Have you ever wondered why people only realize your worth when you're gone? Why do they ignore your presence but chase your absence? It's not a coincidence, it's human psychology. We don't value what's always available. We don't appreciate what we assume will never leave. And that's why the most powerful move you can make is to step back and let them miss you. Stick with this video until the end, and you'll discover a truth. Most people never realize a truth that will shift the way you handle relationships, friendships, and even your own self-worth. If you've ever felt overlooked, underappreciated, or taken for granted, you're about to learn the key to making them see your value without saying a single word. Here's the reality. When you are always available, people stop seeing you. They stop hearing you. They stop valuing you. Not because you're unimportant, but because familiarity makes people blind to what they have. They assume you'll always be there, always forgiving, always giving. And the more you give without boundaries, the less they feel the need to appreciate it. It's human nature. People crave what's distant. They desire what they can't easily have. The moment you remove yourself from the equation, something shifts. The absence you create forces them to reflect. It forces them to remember. And that's when everything changes. Think about the last time you lost something valuable. Maybe it was a person, an opportunity, or even a phase in your life. When it was there, you didn't think much about it. But the moment it was gone, you started remembering the little details, the things you once took for granted. That's how the human mind works. We assign more value to what we no longer have access to. And that's exactly why your absence is your greatest power. When you step back, people have no choice but to confront the silence. They start to notice the space you once filled, the energy you once brought, the moments you once shared. They begin to compare life with you and life without you. And deep inside, a realization starts to grow, a realization they never had when you were always there, always giving, always available. But here's the key. You must be willing to walk away without seeking validation. You must resist the urge to explain yourself, to prove your worth, or to beg for recognition. The moment you do that, you lose all power. Silence is stronger than words. Distance is more powerful than confrontation. When you stop chasing, they start thinking. When you stop reaching out, they start wondering. And when you stop proving your worth, they start realizing it. This isn't about manipulation. It's about self-respect. It's about understanding that you don't have to force anyone to see your value. Your presence should never be a convenience to others. It should be a privilege. And if someone fails to recognize that, the best thing you can do is step back and let them experience life without you. Because here's the truth. People will either miss you or replace you. And both answers reveal everything you need to know. If they replace you without hesitation, they never valued you in the first place. But if your absence lingers in their mind, if they start searching for your presence in places where you no longer exist, then you've just proven your worth without saying a word. So, what happens next? What do you do once you've created that space? That's what we'll uncover next. Because this is just a beginning. Keep watching, because in the next part, you'll learn the exact psychological shifts that happen when you step back and how to handle the moment when they finally realize what they lost. Stay tuned. It's a painful truth. People don't appreciate what's always within reach. They don't value what they assume will never leave. And that's why the more you give, the less they recognize your worth. Not because you lack value, but because they've grown used to your presence. They've stopped seeing the effort you put in. They've stopped feeling the energy you bring. And without even realizing it, they start taking you for granted. This isn't about them being cruel or heartless. It's just how the human mind works. The more familiar something is, the less our brain registers its importance. Think about the air you breathe. It's the most essential thing for survival. But you never stop to appreciate it until it's gone. The same happens in relationships, friendships, and even in your career. The people around you stop noticing your presence because they believe you'll always be there. The cycle starts the moment you begin overgiving. You show up, you support, you give them your time, your energy, your loyalty. At first, they're grateful, they appreciate you. But over time, they adjust. They stop acknowledging your effort because they believe it's a given. They stop saying thank you because they assume you'll always be available. They expect instead of appreciate. And the moment that happens, your value in their eyes begins to fade. But here's where most people make a mistake: they try harder. They think if they give more, if they prove their worth, if they keep showing up no matter how they're treated, eventually people will see their value. But that never works. Because the more you overextend yourself, the more invisible you become. That's why stepping back is so powerful. It disrupts the cycle. It forces people to wake up. When you stop being so accessible, when you stop overgiving, something shifts. The expectations they had of you suddenly collapsed. The things they once took for granted are no longer there. And that's when realization sets in. People don't appreciate water until the well runs dry. They don't recognize the light until they're left in darkness. And when you finally remove yourself, they're forced to confront a truth they ignored for too long. You were never an option. You were never replaceable. You were a privilege they failed to appreciate. But here's the key: when you step back, do it without anger, without resentment. This isn't about punishing anyone. It's about understanding your worth. It's about teaching people without words that your presence is not something to be taken lightly. When they no longer have easy access to your energy, they will start to miss it. When they can't predict your availability, they will start to wonder. And when they realize they may have lost you for good, that's when everything changes. And in that moment, they will either wake up or they will disappear. But either way, you win. Because the ones who truly value you will show it. And the ones who never did, they were never meant to stay. Human nature is predictable. People don't realize the value of something until it's no longer within reach. When something is always available, the mind stops registering its significance. It fades into the background, blending into the ordinary, but the moment it's gone, something shifts. The brain starts searching for it. The heart starts longing for it. And suddenly, what was once ignored becomes the only thing that matters. This is the psychology of absence and value. The less accessible something is, the more desirable it becomes. It's why luxury brands limit their products. It's why the rarest things in life hold the highest worth. Scarcity breeds value. And the same principle applies to you. When you're always present, always giving, always available, people stop seeing your true worth. But when you step back, when you remove yourself, they're forced to confront a reality they never considered you. We're never ordinary. Absence creates space. And in that space, people begin to think. They begin to reflect on what they lost, what they overlooked, and what they never appreciated. They remember the little things, the moments, the support, the presence they once ignored. The silence you leave behind becomes louder than your words. The distance you create becomes more powerful than your presence ever was. But here's the important part: this shift doesn't happen immediately. At first, they may not notice. They may assume you'll come back just like before. They may believe you've just taken a break. But as time passes, the weight of your absence starts to grow. They start feeling the void. They start comparing life with you to life without you. And that's when the regret begins to settle in. This is why walking away with confidence is so important. When you leave, do it with certainty. Don't look back, don't explain yourself, don't seek validation. Because the moment you do, you weaken your own value. True power lies in silent departure, in letting them sit with the reality of your absence, in making them realize, on their own, that they lost something irreplaceable. The biggest mistake people make is assuming their presence alone is enough to be valued, but the truth is, presence without boundaries leads to being taken for granted. The real value isn't in constantly showing up, it's in knowing when to walk away. It's in understanding that your worth is not determined by how much you give, but by how much others recognize what you bring into their lives. And when will they finally understand that? Everything changes. The ones who truly care will fight to earn their place back in your life. The ones who never valued you will fade away. Either way, you'll be left with the truth your absence revealed what your presence could not. At first, they don't notice. They assume nothing has changed. They believe you'll return like you always have. But as the days go by, something begins to shift. A subtle discomfort creeps in. A feeling they can't quite put into words. It starts with small realizations: the absence of your voice, the missing energy in their space, the silence where laughter once lived. And then it grows. Human psychology is wired for attachment. The mind builds patterns around familiar people, familiar routines, familiar comfort. When you were always available, they got used to your presence. They didn't have to think about you, you were just there. But the moment you remove yourself, their brain is forced to adjust. And in that adjustment, a powerful reaction happens. First comes curiosity. They wonder why you haven't reached out. Why have you gone quiet? Why your attention, something they once took for granted, is no longer there. Then comes the ego. They tell themselves they don't care. They convince themselves it doesn't matter. They distract themselves. But as time passes, that distraction no longer works. Because what they're really feeling isn't just curiosity, it's loss. And loss has a way of waking people up. The absence of your presence becomes a mirror. It forces them to see what they never saw before. The little things they once ignored now stand out. The kindness, the effort, the support, the way you made them feel suddenly, it all matters. And that's when they start to feel the weight of their own choices. Regret begins to settle in. They replay old conversations. They think about the times they could have treated you better. They realize they never truly appreciated what you brought into their life. And in that realization, the emotional shift deepens. What they once took lightly now feels heavy. What they once dismissed now seems important. But here's where most people fail. They rush back the moment they sense the shift. They check in. They send a message. They try to reopen the door before the lesson is fully learned. And in doing so, they ruin the entire process. Because the only way for someone to truly understand your value is for them to fully feel your absence. The discomfort they feel is necessary. It's what breaks the illusion. It's what forces them to confront what they lost. If you interrupt that process, you rob them of the opportunity to truly appreciate what they once had. You give them an easy escape from their own realization. And that's why the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. No calls, no messages, no explanations, just silence. Let them sit with it. Let them feel it. Let them process the reality of what happens when you are no longer in their life. Because if they truly care, if they truly value you, they will reach out. And when they do, it won't be out of obligation. It will be out of genuine understanding. And if they don't, then you have your answer. They were never meant to stay. But either way, you walk away with power. Not because you forced them to miss you, but because you allowed them to realize it on their own. And that realization is far more powerful than anything you could ever say. Silence is powerful. It speaks louder than words, cuts deeper than explanations, and forces people to think in ways they never did before. When you step away without a word, without a fight, without warning, it leaves an impact. It creates a void. And that void forces people to face the truth they've been avoiding. Most people expect closure. They expect a conversation. They expect you to explain yourself, to justify your absence, to make it clear why you're leaving. But when you don't, when you simply disappear, it disrupts their entire sense of control. Suddenly, they're left with unanswered questions, and those questions replay in their mind over and over again. Where did you go? Why did you leave? Why aren't you chasing after them like before? And the more they think about it, the more it eats away at them. Because deep down, they know. They know they took you for granted. They know they didn't appreciate you the way they should have. And now, it's too late. This is the power of walking away without a word. It's not about playing games. It's not about manipulating anyone. It's about understanding your worth and refusing to explain it to those who never valued it in the first place. When you remove yourself without drama, without emotion, without a single explanation, you send a clear message. You are not an option. You are not someone who waits around to be noticed. You are not someone who begs for appreciation. You know what you bring to the table, and if they couldn't see it when you were there, they don't deserve access to you now. And here's what happens next. Your silence begins to haunt them. They start noticing things they ignored before. The little things you did, the way you made them feel, the effort you put in. And as they watch you move forward, without looking back, they realize something terrifying: you never needed them. That's the part they never expected. They thought you'd always be there, always waiting, always trying. But now, they're left with nothing but the memory of you. And that memory becomes their only connection to you, because you're gone. And that absence, that's what makes them miss you. That's what makes them regret. But here's the most important part. When you walk away, you don't do it for them. You do it for you. You do it because you refuse to stay where you aren't valued. You do it because you understand that real power isn't in chasing, explaining, or proving yourself. Real power is in knowing when to leave. And once you master that, everything changes. You stop seeking validation from those who never deserved you. You stop waiting for people to wake up and realize your worth, because you already know your worth. And the moment you start living like it, the right people will notice. The wrong ones will fade away. And that is how you win. Not by forcing them to miss you, but by becoming someone they wish they never lost. There comes a moment when reality hits them. At first, they deny it. They tell themselves it doesn't matter. They try to distract themselves, filling the empty space you left with meaningless things. But distractions only last for so long. Eventually, they're forced to face the truth. Life is different without you, and not in a good way. The conversations aren't as fulfilling. The laughter doesn't come as easily. The energy around them feels dull. They look around, and something is missing. You are missing. And for the first time, they start to see things clearly. They realize the love, the patience, the loyalty, the effort. You weren't just anyone. You were someone rare, someone valuable, someone they should have held on to. And that's when the regret begins. They start replaying old memories. The moments they took for granted now feel priceless. The times they dismissed you, ignored your efforts, or made you feel unimportant, they can't escape those thoughts anymore. Because now, with you gone, they finally understand what they had, and they can't believe they lost it. This is the nature of human psychology. People don't reflect when they're comfortable. They don't appreciate something that seems guaranteed. But when that comfort is taken away, when what was once certain becomes distant, that's when appreciation kicks in. And when it does, it comes with a weight they can't shake off. They wonder if it's too late. They wonder if you'll come back. And deep down, they start hoping for a second chance, hoping for an opportunity to fix what they broke. But here's where the real shift happens. You are no longer waiting. See, while they were stuck in their cycle of realization, you were evolving, you were growing, you were learning to live without them. And in that process, you discovered something powerful you never needed them to begin with. That's the part they never expected. They assumed you would always be there, always giving, always available. But now they see the truth. You were never dependent on them. They were dependent on you. Your energy, your kindness, your presence, it was them who needed you more than you ever needed them. And that realization, that's what hits them the hardest. Because now they're left with only two choices. They can come back hoping you'll give them another chance, or they can sit in their regret knowing they lost someone they'll never find again. And the best part, you don't have to do anything. No chasing, no explanation, no proving your worth, just living. Living in a way that shows you've moved on, that you're thriving, that their absence did nothing but make you stronger. And that strength, that's what changes everything. Because now the dynamic has shifted. Now they're the ones left wondering, left missing, left realizing that what they once had is now gone. There's a moment when you realize you're not waiting anymore. You're not looking at your phone, wondering if they'll reach out. You're not replaying old conversations, searching for what went wrong. You're not hoping for closure because you've already found it within yourself. That moment, that's when everything changes. See, most people think healing is about forgetting, about erasing the past. But true healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about no longer being controlled by it. It's about looking back without pain, without longing, without the need to go back. It's about understanding that their absence was never a loss, it was a lesson. And that lesson is clear. You deserve more. You deserve people who choose you, not people who only realize your worth when you're gone. You deserve people who see your value every single day, not just when they feel your absence. You deserve people who appreciate you in the moment, not in hindsight. That's why moving forward is the most powerful thing you can do. Not because it hurts them, not because it makes them miss you, but because it sets you free. It frees you from the weight of waiting. It frees you from the cycle of overthinking. It frees you from believing that your worth is defined by someone else's recognition. Because it's not. It never was. Your worth isn't measured by who stays or who leaves. It's not determined by whether or not they regret losing you. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about knowing deep within yourself that you are enough without their validation, without their approval, without their presence. And when you truly embrace that, you become unstoppable. You stop seeking closure from those who never gave you clarity. You stop looking back at doors that have already closed. You stop questioning whether you made the right choice because you know you did. You start focusing on your growth, your peace, your purpose, and in doing so, you attract people who match your energy, people who don't need to lose you, to appreciate you, people who value you while they have you, not when it's too late. And that is where real power lies. Not in making them miss you, not in waiting for them to realize what they lost, but in becoming someone who never has to look back. Someone who moves forward unapologetically, knowing that what's ahead is far greater than anything left behind. When you finally understand your worth, everything around you begins to shift. You no longer beg for love. You no longer wait for people to recognize your value. You no longer lower your standards just to keep someone in your life. Because you've realized something life-changing, you are enough, exactly as you are. This is the moment where real transformation happens. Not when they miss you, not when they regret losing you, but when you stop needing their validation altogether. Because here's the truth, your value was never dependent on whether they saw it or not. Think about it, the sun doesn't lose its brightness just because someone decides to close their blinds. The ocean doesn't stop being powerful just because someone refuses to swim in it. And you don't stop being valuable just because someone failed to appreciate you. That's the mindset shift that changes everything. See, when people sense that you need their approval, their respect, their attention, they take you for granted, they assume you'll always be there. But when you carry yourself with confidence, when you embrace your worth without needing external validation, you become magnetic. You become the kind of person who commands respect, not by demanding it, but by living in a way that shows you deserve it. And here's the irony, when you no longer need them, that's when they start feeling your absence the most. Because now the power has shifted. Now, you're not the one wondering if they'll come back. They are. They're the ones questioning their choices, replaying their mistakes, wishing they had treated you better. But here's the most important part, B. The time they realize what they lost, you've already moved on. You've grown. You've built a life that doesn't include them. And now their absence doesn't feel like a loss anymore. It feels like freedom. Because when you truly embrace your self-worth, you stop chasing people. You stop waiting for apologies. You stop giving second chances to those who never deserved a first. You start walking in confidence, knowing that the right people will never need to lose you to appreciate you. They'll value you in the moment, not in the aftermath. And that's the power of knowing you're worth it. Allows you to live with no regrets. Not because you didn't care, not because you weren't loyal, but because you chose yourself. And when you choose yourself, the right people will choose you too. Not out of guilt, not out of regret, but because they see you and they know your value without needing to lose you first. Walking away is not a weakness. It's not giving up. It's not losing. Walking away is strength. It's choosing yourself when others refuse to. It's standing up and saying, I deserve more, even when your heart wants to hold on. Most people stay where they are disrespected. They keep giving, keep waiting, keep hoping that one day things will change. But the truth is, nothing changes until you do. Until you stop accepting less than you deserve. Until you stop tolerating mistreatment in the name of love. Until you decide that your peace, your happiness, your self-respect matter more than keeping someone in your life who doesn't see your worth. And the moment you walk away, everything shifts. People who took you for granted suddenly start noticing. They wonder why you're no longer available. Why has your energy changed? Why the person who once gave everything has now stopped giving it all. That's when they feel the emptiness you left behind. Because here's the reality. Your absence is felt more than your presence ever was. People only truly understand your value when they no longer have access to it. When they no longer have your kindness, your patience, your love, your time, that's when they realize what they lost. But by then, it's no longer your problem. See, walking away isn't just about teaching others a lesson. It's about teaching yourself a lesson. It's about proving to yourself that you're strong enough to let go, that you're wise enough to recognize when something is no longer serving you, that you're powerful enough to move forward without looking back. And the best part, walking away doesn't mean you lose. It means you win. You win your freedom. You win your dignity. You win back all the time and energy you wasted on people who didn't deserve it. And when you walk away with confidence, with grace, with no bitterness in your heart, that's when the real transformation happens. That's when you start attracting better opportunities, better relationships, better people who see your worth without needing to lose you first. Because when you stop begging for respect, you start commanding it. And when you stop chasing love, the right love starts finding you. Not because you needed it, but because you finally became the kind of person who refuses to settle for anything less. Silence is powerful. It speaks louder than any argument, any explanation, any plea for someone to change. When you stop chasing, when you stop begging, when you stop trying to make someone see your worth, that's when they start to notice. People expect reactions. They expect anger, tears, desperate attempts to hold on. But when you go silent, when you remove your presence without warning, that's when they feel it. That's when they realize something is different. See, when you argue, when you explain, when you try to make them understand, they still feel in control. They know they have your attention. They know they still hold space in your mind. But when you choose silence, that's when the balance shifts. That's when you take back control. Because silence is unsettling. It forces people to sit with their own thoughts, their own guilt, their own regrets. It makes them wonder why the person who once cared so much suddenly doesn't care at all. And that's what truly haunts them. Most people don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. And when you remove yourself from the equation, when you stop reacting, stop explaining, stop giving them the validation they once fed off of, that's when they start to question everything. Did I push too far? Did I lose something I'll never get back? Did I take them for granted? And the truth, Isius, they did. But now it no longer matters. Because you're no longer waiting for them to realize it. You've already moved on. You've already reclaimed your power. That's why silence is so effective. Not as a game, not as a manipulation tactic, but as a statement. A statement that says, I don't need to explain my worth to you. I don't need to convince you to value me. I don't need to prove anything. Because real strength isn't in loud words. It's quiet confidence. In knowing that you don't have to fight for someone to see your value. The right people will see it. And the wrong ones, they'll feel your absence long after you've stopped caring. And that's the ultimate lesson sometimes. The best response is no response at all. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need to prove anything. It moves quietly, confidently, with purpose. The strongest people aren't the ones who boast about their next move. They're the ones who let their actions speak for them. When you step back, when you go silent, when you stop explaining yourself, that's when you truly become unstoppable. Because now, you're no longer controlled by the need for validation. You're no longer seeking approval. You're no longer waiting for someone to give you permission to grow. You just do it. And that's what catches people off guard. They expect you to explain yourself. They expect you to tell them why you're walking away, why you're changing, why you're no longer giving them the same access to you. But when you say nothing, when you simply move, that's when they start paying attention. Because silence isn't just a response, it's a strategy. It allows you to focus. It allows you to grow without distraction. It allows you to build, to heal, to level up in ways they never saw coming. Most people waste time trying to convince others of their worth. They explain, they justify, they wait for permission. But those who truly succeed, they move in silence. They let their results speak for them. They don't announce their comeback. They don't post about their progress. They don't explain why they left a situation that no longer served them. They just rise. And when they do, that's when people start noticing. That's when the same ones who doubted, who took them for granted, who overlooked them, start regretting it. Because nothing stings more than watching someone you once had access to become someone you can no longer reach. Nothing haunts people more than knowing they had something valuable, but didn't appreciate it until it was too late. And by then, it is too late, because the person they once knew is gone, replaced by someone stronger, wiser, and no longer waiting for their approval. That's the power of moving in silence. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to make them regret losing you. Just focus on yourself. Work hard. elevate, become the best version of you. And one day, they'll look back and realize they lost someone irreplaceable. But by then, you'll be so far ahead that their absence won't even matter anymore. Growth is a lonely road. The higher you climb, the fewer people can come with you. Not because you don't care, not because you don't want them there, but because they're not ready for the level you're stepping into. Most people are comfortable where they are. They fear change. They fear the unknown. And when they see you evolving, when they see you breaking old patterns, when they see you refusing to settle, they don't know how to handle it. Some will distance themselves, some will criticize you, some will try to pull you back to where they feel comfortable, because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. Your discipline reminds them of their excuses. Your success reminds them of all the opportunities they wasted. But that's not your problem. Your only responsibility is to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep elevating. Because when you level up, the people who were never meant to stay in your life naturally fall away. And that's not rejection, it's alignment. See, you can't take everyone with you. Some people are only meant to be part of your past, not your future. Some people were never meant to understand your vision because it wasn't theirs to understand. And that's okay. Let them misunderstand you. Let them doubt you. Let them assume whatever they want. Because while they're watching and talking, you're building, you're becoming. You're stepping into a version of yourself that they won't even recognize one day. And that's the moment everything shifts. The same people who ignored you will start paying attention. The same ones who doubted you will start wondering how you did it. The same ones who thought you'd fail will start wishing they had supported you. But by then, you won't need their validation. You won't need their approval, because you'll have outgrown the version of yourself that once did. That's why the real win isn't proving people wrong. It's becoming so focused, so disciplined, so successful in your own lane that their opinions don't even matter anymore. Because when you truly level up, when you step into your highest potential, when you stop seeking validation and start demanding respect without words, that's when you become untouchable. People don't always value what's in front of them. They assume you'll always be there. They assume your kindness is infinite. They assume your patience has no limit. And as long as you keep giving, as long as you keep showing up, they have no reason to stop taking you for granted. But the moment you remove yourself, the moment you stop making them a priority, that's when they feel it. That's when they start to understand what they had. Because human nature is simple, is always available, is rarely appreciated. What is taken for granted is rarely respected. And sometimes, the only way for people to understand your worth is to experience life without you in it. See, your energy is powerful. Your presence is valuable. The support you gave, the way you listened, the way you cared, that wasn't ordinary. But they only realize that when it's gone, when the calls stop, when the texts go unanswered, when they no longer have access to your kindness, your time, your loyalty. And when that happens, regret sets in. The same people who thought you were replaceable now feel the emptiness you left behind. The same ones who dismissed you now crave the attention they once took for granted. But by the time they realize it, it's already too late. Because you're not waiting anymore. You're not looking back. You've accepted that your worth isn't something that needs to be prevented, something that should have been recognized from the start. And that's the lesson they'll never forget. Your absence will teach them what your presence never could. It will force them to face their own mistakes, their own arrogance, their own failure to appreciate what was right in front of them. And no amount of words, apologies, or regret can reverse time. That's why the most powerful thing you can do is walk away without warning. No explanation, no final words, just silence. Because in the end, some people only learn the value of gold once they're left with dust. When you step back, when you go silent, when you remove yourself from situations that no longer serve you, pay close attention. Because that's when the truth is revealed. The people who genuinely care will reach out. They will notice your absence. They will check on you. Not because they need something, but because they value you. Because you matter to them beyond what you can do for them. But the ones who only kept you around for their own benefit, they will disappear. They won't ask why you're distant. They won't check to see if you're okay. They will move on as if you never existed. And that's the best thing they could ever do for you. Because now you see who is real and who is just using your energy for their own convenience. Now you understand who was truly in your corner and who was only there when it was easy, when it was beneficial, when it served them. This is why distance is so powerful. It doesn't just protect your peace, it exposes who is truly meant to be in your life. Some people only stayed because they had constant access to you. They relied on your kindness, your presence, your willingness to always be available. But the moment you withdraw, the moment you prioritize yourself, they vanish. And that's not a loss, it's a blessing. Because the right people will always make an effort. They won't let you slip away without a word. They won't wait until it's too late to appreciate you. They won't take your presence for granted because they understand that your energy, your loyalty, your support, it's rare. So let people show you who they are. Let them reveal their true intentions. And when they do, believe them. Stop chasing. Stop explaining. Stop trying to force people to see your worth. The ones who value you will show it through their actions. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to stay in your life anyway. Because at the end of the day, your energy is too precious to be wasted on those who only notice your worth after you're gone. The moment you stop begging for love, respect, and attention, the moment you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, that's when your life truly begins to change. Because the truth is, you don't lose people when you prioritize yourself. You lose the ones who were never meant to stay. The ones who only valued your presence when it was convenient for them. The ones who expected you to pour into them but never gave anything in return. And that's a win. That's a victory. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. It's what separates the ones who stay stuck in toxic cycles from the ones who rise, the ones who break free, the ones who step into the life they were always meant to have. See, when you stop chasing people, when you stop forcing connections, when you stop trying to prove your worth, that's when the right people show up. The ones who see your value without you having to convince them, the ones who respect your time, your energy, your presence, the ones who don't need your absence to realize what you're worth. That's the life you deserve, a life surrounded by people who appreciate you, who support you, who bring out the best in you instead of draining you. But it all starts with you. It starts with the decision to walk away from anything and anyone that no longer aligns with your growth. It starts with setting boundaries that protect your peace, even if it means disappointing people who once had unlimited access to you. And it starts with understanding that your energy is a privilege. Not everyone deserves it. Not everyone is meant to receive it. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you step into a life that is filled with genuine love, respect, and appreciation. So let them miss you. Let them wonder. Let them feel the absence of the person they took for granted. But don't look back. Don't second guess your decision. Don't lower your standards just to make someone else comfortable. Because the more you honor yourself, the more life rewards you with the people, opportunities, and experiences that align with your highest potential. This is your time. Your time to rise. Your time to reclaim your power. Your time to step into the life you were always meant to live. And if this message resonated with you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep growing together. Let's keep building a mindset that attracts nothing but the best. Because you deserve nothing less.